Sorry about that. Welcome again, and I got a little explaining to do, I guess. When I put this thing together, for whatever reason, my software put it out there that I was going to be on at 1 o'clock that day that I put it out. So it would have been Thursday, I guess. Anyway, it was a mess up on the software and my part, so I can't blame it all on the software. But it was partially my fault, and but it got straightened out. And Melinda, Sergeant Melinda, she helped me out by telling everybody. I had about 50 people waiting, thinking I had some breaking news about the new DA in the Morphew case, which not yet, but I'm assuming that we will have some breaking news in this case, in the Morphew case. It just will not happen until after the new DA takes office, in my opinion. The DA, the new DAs, and you can hear my wife coming in. She had to take the dogs out right before we got started. The new DA has it in, and I'm going to make some pointers on this in the Morphew case and the Susan Morphew case we're talking about. The new DA is a former police officer, which that is great in this particular case because that will give, and the new DA's name is Linda Stanley. She's a former police officer. She put herself through law school, and she has had all kinds of jobs. Drove a over-the-road truck for a while she's trying to earn money. She worked. She's got, I believe, 2 children. Being a former police officer, she'll be able to look at things in an abstract way that somebody that just was a lawyer would tend to look at it in a lawyer's way. They don't look at all the evidence the same way. Not that they're not as good as any other DA, but I have seen and worked with DAs that have like been the DA in the county I used to work in. Was a retired FBI agent, the current DA. So, I mean, he'd done it. You know, he'd been there and done it in the trenches. You hear my dog panting. She just came in from...
And she's playing ball.
She's got a ball in her mouth. Of course, she wants to do something with a ball right here in her mouth while we're just starting this. The biggest thing about her too that I love automatically, and I've never met her, is that she has a master's degree in domestic violence. Now you say, well, why is that important? Because I believe that is the central core, in my opinion, around the Morphew case, the Suzanne Morphew case, is domestic violence. I think that's the center, in my opinion, it's the center of what happened, that they had a domestic violence incident. In my opinion, that's how it got started, and probably what happened that led to her disappearance and demise. That is purely my opinion. She said that she's setting up a cold case squad. Now, everybody freaks out when I talk about this case being a cold case, but it is 5, almost 6 months old, with no suspects been arrested or even named by the sheriff's department. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have a suspect, and it doesn't mean that they're not planning to make an arrest, because in my opinion, I believe they are. I believe that it is all they're waiting for is for the new DA to get in. That's what my opinion is, because the old DA didn't have massive experience in criminal cases. She was described as a politician. That's what I've heard her being described at. So a politician tends to be a little bit more standoffish about jumping into a real controversial case where there's a lot of money involved. And in this case, that is exactly what it is. So in my opinion, after the new DA gets in office, which that will probably be sometime in January, I tried to find out today exactly when, and I could not find that out. But in my opinion, I think they will probably go forward to a grand jury after that point. Now, she said in an interview, and they've only found 2 interviews on YouTube that she had out there, or anywhere really that I could find. She did an interview prior to getting elected, and where she said, "I'm willing to prosecute the weaker cases." And I thought that was hugely important, and it may even be directed to this case, because no matter what we think between us and what we've seen, that we could think, well, I think so-and-so did it. There's not much evidence to that fact. Not that I've seen. Now, I don't know what they got in the search warrants. We don't know what they pulled out of the search warrants in the house, or anything else, or who they got cooperating with them right now. But there's not a body, and when there's not a body, it is a tougher case to prosecute. Not that it's not impossible to prosecute the cases without a body. It just is tough, because you got to establish if there's evidence that that person is deceased. And they had a case out of Montgomery, Alabama. A girl was kidnapped in Auburn, Alabama. They found her car abandoned in Montgomery at an apartment complex. How they knew that it was a murder was the amount of blood found in the car. The coroner went out there, and the forensics, and they said no one could live and lose this much blood that was found in the car, that it would be theoretically almost impossible for that person to be alive. So they deemed they were looking for a murder suspect then. And this may be the same case. I mean, I don't know what they found inside the home. They went back a second time. We talked about that being almost impossible to get a second search warrant. So I'm thinking DNA had showed something in the DNA at the house the first time. May have found that something in the first search warrant, then the DNA, that led them to the second search warrant. But we don't know if carpet was taken, or DNA was taken, or blood was found in the house. We don't know that if blood was found, how much was found. We know that pictures show them coming out. It looked like they had luminol bottles in their hand, or spray bottles. It could have been luminol. It most likely was. We don't know what all they took from the house, what evidence they took. So we're not sure what the police have. They've remained silent, basically, in this. We know that CBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI are working diligently on this. I feel sure that they are working diligent on this. One thing, too, that with a big thing with a master's degree in domestic violence, she understands how domestic violence work and the prosecution of those cases. And her being a former police officer, I'm sure she's worked many. I have honestly probably worked been to hundreds of domestic violence cases, experienced hundreds of domestic disturbances. I've worked in large departments and small departments, and the many years I spent in the field, I've seen hundreds. There's no doubt hundreds. And just about every disturbance you go to is related to domestic violence. I'm not saying everyone, but almost everyone. I'd say in the high 90s, 90 percentile. She's setting up a cold case squad. That's what I said. Now, I don't get freaked out because I call it a cold case. It's just, but really right now, if the police are not saying anything, they're not making arrests, and anyway, they're not even naming a suspect, it's a cold case. It just may not be that cold. One thing, too, she is pro-life. She mentioned into it that she was pro-life. Why does that matter? because if you're pro-life, and it's not all this way, but you tend to be a little bit more pro-justice and the death penalty. And I don't know why that is, but that is what actually has been proven. She believes in looking into all open cases. Apparently, in one of the other counties, Fremont, I think it was, they had a bunch of open cases, open murders, open disappearances, open, whatever, burglaries. So she says she's going to take all the cases in all of the different counties, because she'll have 3 counties, the 11th district, I think that's what they said, that she'll have, and she'll be looking into every case. She's also going to have a website where you can email her personally. And that means that she wants to be directly involved without going through 15 people to get to her if you have a problem. And I could see her probably meeting with Andy too. And the biggest thing I think, and I heard a lot of people say, well, this may not be, but the biggest thing is she was not endorsed by sheriffs. The other girl was endorsed by 3 sheriffs. Now, you think, well, why wouldn't she endorse? Is that a problem? No, that's not a problem, because she's not going to owe anybody anything. She's not going to have to owe them favors to maybe help them out or look over certain, you know what I mean? I'm not saying crooked problems, but if you don't owe a sheriff any favors by the sheriff not endorsing you, if the sheriff is good and clean and not corrupt, then he's not going to worry about owe you anything. But if he's got a case, just say this Morphew case, he might want to put it on the back burner until they can, find a body. And I'll be honest with you, they may never find a body. I hate that, but they may never find the body. She did a pretty lengthy interview with both of them did. And now that we know that she won, we don't need to go into the other person's history or what they said. But she said, I'm first going to read all the case files. I have been notified by dozens of individuals all over that the last few months and have pleaded with me to look at their cases. So I'm wondering if Andy has contacted her and said, hey, please look at this case, because obviously there's problems down there, because they've had other cases that these people have said, hey, can you please look at my case about this? They've been ignored by the other DA, apparently. She said the difference between me is that I am looking at the cases both from a police officer and a prosecutor. And that is huge, because a police officer can look at cases, for instance, the Morphew case, and they can say, well, I've been to 100, 200 domestic violence cases, and she's got this domestic violence degree. And she can say, was this a case of domestic violence? Let me examine all this evidence. And she has a better point of view of it. It's just very, very promising. To me, it's very promising. She says that if I think that there are more leads to follow up on, I will ask the appropriate law enforcement agency if there are leads that were addressed and what the outcome or not, and why not. And if needed, I will assign an investigator from the DA's office would give us a different perspective to develop the case for possible leads. Now, that is huge too, because, well, this case, you got the FBI and the CBI. So they may not need that, but it would be great to have an investigator from that office there so that they can go over all these facts of this case, and then he can sit down directly with the DA, because she's going to be busy with everything, and say, hey, this is what this is. They feel like they've got that, or we need to impanel a grand jury. And it's apparently that the FBI is not going to do that, or they would have already done it.
Is it your opinion that there are small town politics involved in Salida?
Well, I think there is Salida, I think is the way they pronounce it. I'm not sure. I think there are politics involved with the current DA. And that's my opinion, because why not bring up a grand jury and put it before grand jury? The thing with the grand jury, you could impanel a grand jury, submit the case to a grand jury, they could no bill it, and you could do it later on again. You don't have to. A true bill is when they indict. You don't have to just submit it, and if they don't do it, like a trial found not guilty and never can do it again, you can take it to the grand jury 100 times if you wanted to.
Okay, C. Mills wants to know, during the 4 months, no new evidence is found?
Well,
thanks, Mandy.
There's 5 months, and I'm not sure if no new evidence is found or not. We're not privy to that. We're not privy to that. Thanks, Mandy. We appreciate that.
Do you think the blue shirt was planted?
I don't think. Personally, I do. And here's why I do. Now, I don't know. I don't have firsthand knowledge. First off, I don't believe AK with 2 crime planted it. I don't think that in the slightest. I've heard some people say they thought he did. I don't think in the slightest. He has no reason to. And I talked to him, and I really believe he has a good heart. That 2 crime has a good heart. I believe that they want to find the truth, and they are seekers of the truth, just like I am.
Okay, they don't have to have all evidence for grand jury, correct?
No. Grand jury, let me tell you what grand jury is if you've never experienced it or been around it. Grand jury is usually 19 citizens. Some grand juries in other places are lesser citizens. But what they do is this. There's no lawyer for the defense there. There's a prosecutor. And what happens is, I've testified before the grand jury hundreds of times. They're mostly drug cases, but I've testified on cases where people have died and other things. And it happens just like a drug case. All of them are the same. You go in, there's a group of citizens in the ones that I've testified, they're in kind of like a theater balcony. There's 19 of them there. And they got the notepads in the hand. You come in, they swear you in. You know, I swear, tell the truth, nothing but the truth, help me God, yes I do. Ladies and gentlemen, this investigator, whoever it is, he is going to be testifying in the case, and they'll say the case number, and they'll say like so-and-so versus state of Alabama, if I was doing Alabama. So-and-so versus state of Colorado. And then the police officer will testify. Usually the grand jury can ask him anything. Anything. They can ask him without anything. And it doesn't matter. And because, see, there's not a defense lawyer there to object. There's a prosecutor. That's it. He can ask us anything. I've had grand juries actually ask me after the case was over, can we ask the prosecutor, can we ask him something else? And they say, go ahead. What can we do as people of this county to better support law enforcement? And, you know, just open it up, man. It's just like you tell your heart then, you know. They might ask you, what do you think of this situation or that situation? You know, you can just tell them what you think. Now, after the police officer may testify, they may have the coroner come in and testify. They may have somebody else. They have witnesses that will come in and testify. Yes.
Somebody said, will the T-shirt be analyzed? Angela said, would the T-shirt be analyzed for DNA? What are your thoughts, Thomas?
I think that I hope it will. Personally, I don't think it is Suzanne's T-shirt. If one is that it had like several cuts, like it was a stab wounds. It had somebody shot it with buckshot or something. There was no blood. You're going to have blood on the shirt, and that, I don't care if you lay it in a creek. In my opinion, if there's that much blood on it, it might or might not wash out. It was way bleached look to it. It also, somebody said that it had something had defecated on the end of it. In other words, it had the stool of something at the bottom of it, like an animal. Or
You think
I
the
don't
bear
know.
wiped his butt with it?
I don't know what happened to it.
They ran out of that toilet paper.
I don't know that. I think it was planted to throw off. I mean, it'd be easy. I mean, you think about this. If you start finding clothing out in the woods, it's easier to think, well, that animal might have did that, or somebody did this and they're leaving this and that. They had found it. I don't know what they found to start off with. We don't know what was recovered. The police recovered some stuff, out there right after the girl went, Suzanne went missing. They recovered some stuff. They're not saying what stuff it was. Was it the phone? Was it her helmet? Was it bike clothing? Was it gloves? Was it? Personally, I don't think she ever was on her bike. I think whatever they found was planted out there.
Or it could have been from another crime, somebody said.
Yeah, but if you want to make it look like she was on her bicycle riding when she was abducted, then you're going to throw the helmet out on the side of the road, or some biking gloves or whatever. Because here, let me explain something. The night of the time that I think had happened, here's what I think, and I've discussed this before. This is purely my opinion. I have to say that. I think when she was on the phone texting her girlfriend about the upcoming wedding that she was excited about going to see, all of a sudden, the conversation went completely blank. The girl tried to text her. Nothing, no way to text her. Thank you, Maui. We appreciate that. Thanks, Maui. They tried to text her. They tried to. Couldn't do it. Tried to call. Wouldn't answer the phone. But later that night, Andy spoke about this. Somewhere around midnight, somebody gets on the phone and they text, go on their Facebook, and they send out friend requests to a bunch of guys about Andy's age. Now, that in itself to me is very suspicious. Everything that we've heard about Suzanne, her faith in God, her friends saying that she was crazy about her family, that she loved her husband and crazy about her girls, this goes against everything that you hear about Suzanne, and all in one night.
Has Barry said anything about the shirt that you know of?
Well, if you listen to the AK's audio, I'm not sure. It's very confusing to me whether he's talking to Barry about the shirt or he's talking to somebody else about the shirt. So if you could find that out, I would be very interested to know that myself. I know that AK brought it to or told the police about it. I don't think he moved it. I think he put some rocks on it to keep it from being knocked away. And I think he told the police about it. And then the police laughed at him at first, which that is very disappointing to me as a retired police officer. To have someone laugh at somebody like that is very, very disappointing.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. We do appreciate it. Thank you very much, Sarah. It's very, very disappointing. Yeah, I'm trying to get out of that one, though. Thanks, Sarah. I want to put that back up again. Thank you very much. Where'd it go?
Okay. We should ask Barry the size she wore. Maybe it was his daughter's shirt.
It could be. I'm not sure that Barry's going to talk to us or talk to anybody about that. If it was a plant by any of his crew, then surely he wouldn't,
I kind of agree with French apple tart. It didn't look like a shirt that Suzanne would wear.
Well, she did wear that color.
I mean that color, but
in different areas. But let me explain something about the grand jury. I wanted to, before I got off on this track. People will go in before the grand jury and they will testify to what they know, and then the DA can actually ask them questions to strengthen the case. The old saying is a DA could indict a ham sandwich. I've heard this all my life. It's because that means it's very easy to get the DA to indict somebody. But that's why a lot of times any shooting a police officer is involved in, any death case, like I worked the death of a little 11-year-old boy one time, and I actually saw the accident, and I actually worked the accident, which is not recommended in most cases. It's very traumatic on anybody that has seen something like that. It was for me. And two little girls, a girl, 19-year-old, was leaving work and going up the road, and this kid runs right out in front of her, and I was actually 50 feet from the accident when it happened, and in a police car. But I had to go to grand jury and testify on this case, even though I ruled it totally an accident and basically the kid's fault. I still, because it was a death investigation, had to go to grand jury and testify to the facts. They no-billed the case, meaning they did not find the girl was any criminally at fault. So if they brought all this evidence in, and say the last DA was in there, she could basically refuse to put it before the grand jury. She could basically just tell the grand jury, I personally don't think there's enough to prosecute this guy. And 9 times out of 10, the grand jury would say, okay, she's a DA. She doesn't think there's enough. He wouldn't be prosecuted. And I think maybe that's the reason. Maybe it is. I think, in my opinion, it is a reason why that they did not pursue charges or run it before the grand jury now. They're waiting for the election to come about. They're waiting for a DA that's going to be pro-law enforcement and pro criminal, prosecuting criminals. And that may be it. I haven't seen any great evidence from what I've been reading that the last DA followed up on a lot of stuff. There's tons of cases supposedly in this Fremont County that have just been pushed by the wayside. The master's degree program says, here's her speaking. She says, I possess a master's degree in public administration from the first ever program for domestic violence at the University of Colorado. My opponent does not have a master's degree of any discipline. So she had a 4-year degree and a law degree. And if you've never been a police officer, never experienced domestic violence, you've never been around it and seen the results of it, plain doing it in court and listening to somebody testify is not good enough, in my opinion. So I think the DA, in my opinion, the DA in this case, with the new DA coming on board, is going to do a lot of good in this case. Now, will they wait to after she's sworn in? I believe they will. So if it is in January, then I assume, because the more cases there is to follow up on, the more grand juries you have. Your bigger cities, like for instance Huntsville, that lies about an hour west of my house here. It runs a grand jury week, just about. It runs either once every 2 weeks or one a week. So basically they have a grand jury in session all the time. And those type are the best, because you can just go, New York does it, I know. You can walk in there and testify before the grand jury and automatically get an indictment on cases that are fresh. But in cases of smaller towns where one that I retired from, then your cases may be a grand jury, may be running every 2 or 3 months. So when the grand jury comes, they may have 700-800 cases to go through the grand jury. And so it's just It's huge. When the grand juries, the indictments come out, then a lot of them, after that happens, and you'll see a lot of people plead to these cases. A lot of people will go to trial, set up for trial. A lot of people will, continue the cases. And of course, grand jury does not happen in civil trials. It only happens in criminal trials. So, civil trials, they get their information through derogatories, and basically a derogatory is a questionnaire that one lawyer sends out to another lawyer for the defendant or the plaintiff to answer questions. And they might be 300-400 questions in a derogatory, and then you'll have a deposition that you do it in person.
CJ wants to know, did anyone else hear that there are sealed warrants in this case?
Yes, there are.
Yes.
The 2 warrants that was given, that they did on the Morphew house, are sealed.
What does that mean?
That means that no one can have privy to view why the warrant, the probable cause used to get the warrant, who signed the warrant, what they seized in the warrant, what evidence they seized in the warrant, and except the police, the judge that issued the warrant, or the magistrate or whatever, and the DA. That's it. You can't, in other words, I can't file a Freedom of Information Act and find out what is in the warrant. And a lot of times what they do, why they do that, is because they feel like if the warrant is unsealed, then the defendant in this, the suspect, will try to destroy evidence, especially in a situation where they may have a body unfounded, don't know where the body's at. They may flee. It's a big case like this that, I'm going to tell you, and it's bad to say this, but if this case was involved somebody that lived down the road in the projects, DAs and the police do not worry as much, and it's bad to say, than somebody living in a $1.5 million house that's got money. Now, the one thing I don't understand about Barry in this case is why Barry has not got a lawyer to speak for him. If I was his lawyer, I would tell him to be quiet and don't comment about anything and let his lawyer be the one to do the talking. And it doesn't mean you're guilty if you hire a lawyer. It just means you're smart, and I'm going to tell you, that's the way it is. This is first, I know you get a chance to say it.
Y'all hear that? I got my hand up.
This is the incoming DA. This is her campaign poster. She is not a native of Colorado. She moved there. A prosecutor is assigned to seek and promote justice. If you want peace, work for justice. The Pope Paul VI. Justice for all. As a district attorney, I will promote and provide justice in all, including the accused, the victim, and the community. And let me see what this is real quick.
Okay, while you're looking, Rhonda Adams says there was a grand jury indictment against the Ramseys, and the DA chose not to indict.
Yeah, well,
and why did they?
If there was a grand jury indictment against it wasn't the indictment that is apart from what the DA wants to do. The DA chose not to prosecute an indictment. That's what it was. And, in that particular case, I've done a lot of research on the Ramsey case. Me and my wife actually disagree on who the offender is, in my opinion. But,
or in my opinion.
Yeah, in your opinion. You think it could not be who I think it is.
I don't believe it is who you think it is.
But, in my opinion, my suspicion is at first that it was the mother. I believe, though, in that case, and this is just pure speculation on my part because nobody's been charged, but I believe she was accidentally killed either by the son or the mother because she wet the bed and staged as a murder.
Mm-mm.
But because nobody writes the note that they found and knew about the bonus that he had in the exact amount. And, that's just my opinion. And I think it's been a lot of other people feel the same way I do. But we're not getting into that because that's not what we do here.
Angela says, Angela says, where is she from? Who brought her to work on this case?
You mean where is who from?
I think she's talking about the district attorney.
The district attorney went to I think a law school in Denver. She got her degree. She worked as a hearing officer for the state of Colorado, and she had been a police officer. She'd worked on the prosecution side, and when they had an opening for DA, not an opening, but when this girl had the girl that's in there right now, the DA in there right now, I understand she was appointed. So when she ran for re-election, she chose to run against her. This girl, the woman, Linda, she has been elected as the district attorney for those counties, and it's basically 3 counties of Colorado. So she is the chief law enforcement officer for those 3 counties. She will make the decisions on what to take to the grand jury and what to prosecute, and that's just how it is. The only other way somebody can be prosecuted is if they're federally prosecuted, and then they have got to be proven to be in the realm of possibilities of the federal prosecution. Murder is not a federal crime. Now, you can look that up. You have to cross state lines to be established in the commission of a crime to get the FBI to be able to prosecute you. Or you've got to use some type of mail fraud, or you got to talk to somebody over the phone that crosses a state line, or something online to be charged with murder. You can be charged with hiring a hitman. You can that is a federal crime. But there's a lot of different things why I don't think that they will pursue this federally. I think the FBI is there to assist them, and the sheriff's department will be the one that brings charges along with the district attorney.
Lynn, I don't know who did it. I just don't believe the parents had anything to do with it, and I don't believe the brother did. I don't know who did it.
Well, I've read a lot more than my wife has on this case.
How do you know?
And I believe that it did. That's just my opinion. There's a lot of great books written about that case, and it's very interesting. A lot of great shows too. Yes. Katie
says, I think Barry's mom had a hand in it too. Just my thought. Did they question her?
I don't think they have. They really don't have a reason to, unless they find something in the house or something in the records that would lead them to that. And listen, I can't for the life of me think why he hasn't hired an attorney. And I don't know unless he thinks that's going to make him look guilty to hire an attorney. But I'm going to be very honest with you. If I was in his situation, I would hire an attorney just to represent any conversation between me and the law enforcement or even the news media. I think he's made some bad mistakes talking to the media and talking to, apparently he has not cooperated with law enforcement the way he has said he has. I did go back yesterday and listen to the conversation of the sheriff when he first had his first press conference about it. And somebody asked him, a reporter asked him, is the husband cooperating? And he said, yes, for now. Now, I don't know how much cooperation. He might just told him the basics. He may have sat down for an interview, but in my opinion, he's not cooperating what he needs to be because CBI has told Andy that. And I don't think they would just lie about that to Andy. I really don't. But I think this prosecutor is an opportunity. And it may be what, in my opinion, it's what they're waiting on. They're wanting a more favorable prosecutor in there that has the law enforcement experience. There's a saying in law, and when I went to law school, I learned this, is forum shopping. And that's not thought of. That's not what you're really supposed to do. But lawyers do that for criminal cases, not necessarily, but for civil cases. They forum shop. They find the judge they want to hear this case or in the proper jurisdiction. And that's what forum shopping is. What is our dog doing there?
Hush, lay down.
But, I think this girl, the one that's coming in, I hate to call her a girl, she's a woman, district attorney, has got the experience, has got the know-how. She knows, she's been experienced, she's had positive results and all this stuff. And I think that that's what they're waiting on to bring it for a grand jury. Now, what evidence do they have? They have evidence from the house. We don't know what it is. That is leased there from the house. There is some evidence from the house because they did 2 serial search warrants. They've got whatever evidence from outside the house. The only thing they don't have that we know of is a body. Maybe they do. I don't know that they do. I don't think they do. If they had a body, I think that we would know about it. But, I don't know.
He thinks he's gotten away with it, Blitz says. Stephanie says, BM seems arrogant enough to think he's smarter than the police, so probably thinks he doesn't need an attorney.
Yeah, well, that's a mistake on his part. I'm going to tell you, it's a mistake. Because anything he has said to the news media, anything he said to Tyson Draper, anything he says to the news media on various things, any comments he's made to anybody, he's talked to Andy, any place he's been seen, can all be used against him in a court of law. Can all be used. And don't you think the police are not notating this and transcribing all of this stuff? They're doing all of it. And I would not be surprised if they are not watching every one of our videos too. And anything that we've scraped up off turned over, a rock we turned over that has turned up evidence is being accumulated by the police.
Thomas, do you think they found anything under the cut up cement and not saying it yet? I even wonder if he buried part of his bobcat there. Just weird that they dug up cement for nothing.
I don't know. I know that they did use ground penetrating radar. I don't know that for a fact, but I have been told by some people that there's possibility they used ground penetrating radar. Something led them to use a concrete saw and saw up that concrete. Something did. And they dug up a lot of ground and they sifted it out there. You could see the people out there with sifters sifting up for any type of evidence. So it's very possible something was recovered there. I don't know what. I would like to get into one other case before we go tonight.
See if there's any more questions.
But I do want to go and ask that. Is there any more questions on the Morphew case? And listen, it doesn't mean that we won't discuss things later on each night. It's a fascinating case to me. If we knew what was in the sealed search warrants, that would open up a big pot for us to look at and say, is he did this, is he did that. But here's another thing we need to do in this case. We need to consider all options. I know that most people don't believe that it could be anything but the husband, Barry. Personally, I feel like, in my opinion, that it is more likely than not his involvement just because of all the stuff, him saying he left here at 5:30 in the morning, his cell phone indicating he was out at 4 in the morning, people testifying they talked to him at 4 in the morning, him saying one thing, his truck GPS saying another. He takes his Bobcat everywhere he goes, could be used to do something, a lot of different things.
The Hope Foundation and the trustee, question mark?
Hope Foundation, you mean the foundation that they own, the charitable foundation? I don't know about that. I don't really know what it's in reference to.
I don't know what you're doing over there, but it looks like you're swimming on this side.
My back's
your hands are going like this.
Okay. Well, I talk with my hands, I talk
Put
with
them
my
down.
hands here.
I know somebody else that does that.
Yeah.
I can't stand her. No, I'm sorry.
But we don't know about the foundations. I don't have any evidence that anything. I know somebody said they did have a charitable foundation, but that there's not much information about it. I think a lot of this has to do with money. Apparently, there was a lot of money that Suzanne inherited. I think that might have been it. The initial argument could have been about money. A lot of times it is about money. It could have been about the fact that they wanted to sign something or do something, and she didn't want to do it. It could have developed into an argument. I think there's a lot of speculation, and that's all we can do right now, speculate and have our own personal opinions, because we have no evidence that we can pull out and say. The biggest evidence that I have is he might be involved, and this is the biggest evidence I have, is the fact that he has not done anything that I can see to attempt to find his wife or to let the public know about it. And I've said many times that I would be on the news every single night. They'd have to give a restraining order to me to get me to stay out of the newsroom to keep from talking about my wife and people helping me find her.
What is the new DA's name?
The new DA's name is Linda Stanley. And I think once she gets in office, if things do not progress on this case, then everybody should contact her and say, why not? It's a fair question. Even if you don't live there, there's a lot of people that travel through there. And, I think it would be a justifiable thing to ask her why not. But I believe that things will progress. I do. Is there any more questions? Because I do want to get into this other matter. It's kind of important. Any more questions, Dana?
Sneaky to put the home in a foundation. That's weird.
No, it's a tax thing, I think. It's a tax thing.
Okay, if Ellie finds the body, would they keep that info from the family for the investigation?
We don't know. I doubt it, but they could. It's a body is not going to. Sure, in the long run, there would be people saying, why'd you do that? That was heartless. But if it could lead to the person that did it being arrested, I don't think the family would say anything. And one thing is, we don't know what the police told Andy.
Somebody said question mark about the tax break, but somebody else said that they think there's an affair around the corner. And Sherry says, no, the affair would have come out by now. I don't know that. First off, a lot of people thought Morgan and him had something. There's workers that said that, that was the boss's girl. They called her Nacho. They told him that they had ran off and take 3-4 hour lunches. A bunch of stuff that happened, that maybe, and I'm not 100% sure that something wasn't going on with them two. I don't have any reason to believe that it wasn't. She made some comments that would lead me to form an opinion that maybe something was going on between them. But it's not now, apparently, because they've had some pretty harsh words between them. So you don't know anybody. After somebody
accuses you of being on meth, that would pretty much seal the deal for me, you know. I don't care if you got a relationship with them, but somebody comes in the news meeting and says, these people are nothing but meth addicts. You know what I mean? I don't know. These are all just our opinions. We don't have any evidence to any of this.
Sarah said, "What's done in the dark, y'all." So there is scripture for that. It's in Luke, and it says, "Bring to light those things that are in the dark, uncover those things that are hidden, and shout from the rooftop those things being done in secret." So we know God knows.
Yeah, and you know, I read something about.
Okay, wait just a second. Gijo said, "I think the children were involved too." I don't see that.
I don't see
that at all.
One of the kids was like 11 years old, and the other one was an adult. They were away at the time. Supposedly, that's what I've read is Barry really wanted to go on this church trip. I don't see them being involved now. Maybe the older one may have some suspicion of what's going on, but only thing I wanted to know from the children, and I can't find this out, and we'll probably find out if there's an arrest in the case, is if they witnessed domestic abuse, either verbally, physically abuse over the last few months. And one of the reasons why I think there was at least verbal abuse was the girl that had cancer treatments with Suzanne said that she was on the phone with her talking about coming down to Florida when Barry walked in unexpectedly and said, "You're not going anywhere," in a harsh voice, and said her tone and mannerisms on the phone changed. So, you know, that might look like that he was the kind of like boss type of a domineering type of individual. If we don't have anything else, I do want to touch on one other case. This happened in 2017 in September. The girl's name is Corinna, I think it is. It's Corinna Slusser, Slusser. This girl, her family says they had no inkling that something was going on with her. It is heartbreaking story. She's a very beautiful girl. This is a picture of her here. She got involved on the internet with a gentleman that claimed to be a rap star, you know, rap, whatever he is, rapper. And some way or another, he convinced her to go with him. And from there, she was sex trafficked.
Oh, gosh.
It has been true that she has been sex trafficked.
Oh.
She probably is addicted to narcotics, and her mother found evidence on some of these sites for where she solicited sex from men, and she was obviously addicted to narcotics. I think this is, no, that's not what it was. Let me see if I can find. I probably did not copy it for whatever reason, but she put out a thing saying, you know, men, I'm, you know, clean and all this kind of stuff. And let me see if I can do that. I thought it was pretty important to have that real quick. Does anything, see if anything comes up on my screen. I doubt it does here. But she was sex trafficked by these guys. Her Instagram page had nude pictures on her Instagram page, and also had pictures of her in very low-cut outfits that indicated that she was available for sex. And I apologize, I do not have the what the item showed her, but she just put, "Hey guys, available, thick, 150 pounds, experienced in all aspects of men pleasure and all this." And it was totally away from what she was raised in. Her mother said she basically had her dreams were to go to New York, become a makeup artist. And apparently this guy convinced her to get into the sex trade through drugs. Now, they arrested this guy. The FBI did, arrest him for human trafficking. He's doing 15 years in jail. And he was directly linked to the missing girl.
How old was she?
She was
17?
No, she's I think she's 18. Hold on a second here.
You got something up on the screen now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now. Let me see here. I'll find out through one of these here. This is the actual poster of her, and you can see the bottom left. That was one of her Instagram shots. She is, and a couple others. She was smoking, looked like a blunt, marijuana blunt in one of them. She was 19 at the time of her disappearance, missing from September of 2017. She had some, what?
Yeah, okay.
She had a tattoo there. You can see, I think that was on her chest of that tribal, whatever it is. I'm not sure if the tattoo was done after she was abducted or before she was abducted. Her mother said she never was into anything, never hints of any type of prostitution or drugs or anything until she started going with this guy. The exact details of how she got involved with this guy are a little murky, they're saying.
So he never said where she, bless you. He never said where she was?
No, he refused to say if she was dead or alive, or if he had sold her.
And how long ago was
or
this?
Traded her.
2017.
2017. Said that she had spent her summer in 2016 with Becker Kappa in Massachusetts and returned home to Pennsylvania. That was Pennsylvania. In August that year, a few months later, she told her mother that she wanted to move to Massachusetts permanently and live with her aunt. I've got. Let's see if I can finish this. Both, I can't even pronounce that name, and Becker Kappa agreed this, and so she set up to make a move sometime in December of 2016. However, shortly after that decision was made, that she there was some unsavory details from her son regarding her niece's last summer visit. So obviously she did something in Massachusetts she wasn't supposed to be doing.
Angel says there's no lack of photos of her online.
Right. While it's unclear exactly what's happened during this time, claims unbeknownst to her, she had been up to no good while staying at her home in the summer. So obviously she got mixed up with the wrong crowd while she was on the summer and while she was with her aunt staying in a 2-week. And she was planning a 2-week trip in December. But in light of the upsetting information, she decided to postpone her the trip and move to Massachusetts. This was her aunt basically decided to do that until she returned in January 2017. Her and her mother were not thrilled with this news. Now I don't know if the stuff with the son was or this Becker Cafe was involved with this or what. It's just kind of a mixed up situation. The girl decided to move in with some friends nearby Pennsylvania town instead. She was living with these friends, and when she dropped out of high school and attempted to commit suicide in 2017. Now, that could have been because she got into some drug use, maybe that she got raped. We don't know what happened that could led her to attempt to commit suicide. Following her suicide attempt, she was hospitalized. While in treatment, she first encountered a man with whom she eventually moved to New York City. So, the guy apparently was in treatment or hospital, or the first encounter with the man. So the man, I think, the way I understand it, was this rapper. Her family had identified this man. No, I don't know. I can't pronounce it. Yhovany, last name Peguero. Let me see if this is the same one we're talking about. No, that's not going to be the same one that got arrested. So obviously she was involved with a few of them. He allegedly convinced her to move to New York City with him, where he could give her a place to stay and more exciting life that she wanted. She called this Turata or whatever, I don't know who that is, to inform her in her decision to move to New York City. I guess that was her friend. It's a little mixed up, I'm sorry. Since her daughter was over the age of 18, no way to stop her. I guess that was her mom. I guess that's what her mom is. She said her daughter. Over the next few months, she continued to post on social media and contact her family and friends for a while, believing that everything was fine. And I know that at one time, while she was mixed up with this rapper guy, she had called her mother and said, I want to come home. I want to come home. But she never made it home, and frankly just went missing after that. But they believe that she is still being trafficked in the sex trade, because you think about this, it would be taking away a money source for the people that have her trafficked, to kill her, to end her life, because obviously she left with them willingly at first, but I'm sure she didn't want to go into that sex trade and obviously on drugs. Some of the pictures that I've seen are just is night and day from where what she was. This is another picture too. This black guy was in the middle. You can see that looks like nothing like her. That was apparently one of her pimps, is what I understand.
Julie Johnson said the head of prisons where she is opened the door and a gangbanger shot him. Him. That
guy?
Shot. Why? No, the head of prison, wherever she's at, Julie is, that he opened his door and a gangbanger shot him.
Oh, man. It's terrible.
That's what happened to that police officer, remember?
Yeah, recently, I think. Even her, they downplayed, said naturally they were horrified. She tried to contact her mother, tried to contact her daughter, and said, I know somebody hurt you. And see, I'm saying if she attempted suicide and if she never had gotten depressed in the past and nothing really led up to that, it would be easy to infer that she may have been raped or drugged and raped, and that's how they put them into this, sex trade. They actually get them addicted to narcotics, and the only people they can get their narcotics from is their pimps, and they lead them in the sex trade. They put them there and they get them there.
Yeah, that happened in Colorado Springs.
Said theories and potential leads in this case. Said after, New York City Police Department sent the mother a letter saying that the family had decided to do a little digging on their own on social media and try to round her, find out where she's at. They believe that she is working a prostitution ring, and this guy is this Pedro is her pimp, as a part of the New York City sex trafficking ring. If you stroll through her Facebook, it's like advertisements, somebody said. The Haven Motel, where she was last spotted, has a reputation of a no-tell motel, and the slang term for the establishment primarily hosts people looking for sex. So, the main thing is they believe, her mother believes, and some officers believe that she could still be out there. She could still be in the sex trade, and just because people stay in the sex trade doesn't mean that they are not forcibly in the sex trade. A lot of these pimps will tell them, you try to leave me, I'll kill you, or I'll kill your mother, or I'll kill your little brother or your family members, or wait till I tell them all the bad stuff you have done. And it's just really, crazy. This guy that we had the picture of there in 2018, he was arrested and charged with trafficking, sex trafficking, and he's due to do 15 years in federal prison. They've tried, her mother has really worked diligent about trying to find her. They've scored the internet for traces of her pictures. They followed her Facebook, her Instagram, any type of ads, notified the vice squad in various cities that are working these prostitution details. When I was in narcotics and vice, we worked some prostitution details, and the way they did it at first, they would go get these ads out of these books of prostitution, sex trade in various magazines like this Backdoor or Front Page, or even the one that what's the Craigslist. And then once we go out and send undercover officers in these situations, then they make the arrest on the prostitutes or the sex trade people. And then if there is a pimp, they try to get the pimp upstairs. Normally they would get them with drugs. And then they would set these girls, some of the girls, they would tell them, you want to go to jail for this prostitution, where it's basically a $50 fine, and that's it. Or do you want to work with us to help get these Johns? Because if you work in a sting operation where you're trying to get the Johns, the ones that hire the girls, then that eliminates the sex trade in the particular location. You eliminate the purchasers of this by arresting the people that are selling themselves, and then making them turn around, and not making them, but allowing them to work off any type of charges. And the last one we did, we arrested 2 or 3 of the pimps. We arrested the women for prostitution, but they turned around and set up a sting operation with the FBI, DEA, and then they actually ran these girls would answer the call. Sure, come on up. The minute the guys come up, they give them money to do something, and they say the act they're going to do. The police run in and they arrest the guys. And we actually arrested about 30 or 40 men, even a couple of women in the sex sting. But the problem with this is it's all a misdemeanor in most states, unless you can say that you get the pimp and he is running 2 or 3 girls, then you can charge him with trafficking or operation of a prostitution ring. And I know somebody said I shouldn't refer it to prostitution, I should refer it to the sex trade, but that's the legal term, is the prostitution is the crime. So if you can say that this John or this pimp is running girls, 3 or 4 girls, then he can be charged with a felony in most states. Now, I don't know of a state that has prostitution as a felony, the simple act of prostitution. Soliciting prostitution either. A girl goes out on the street, she's walking up and down the street, the guy tries to pick them up, then they're charged with a misdemeanor. They get out of jail and $50 fine or whatever. Even, a lot of times the police will be out there posing, young police girls, women officers, the guys will come up and they'll arrest them. And here's how they keep them from doing it again. They put their picture in the paper. They put their picture all over the paper. You don't see a lot of women sex trade in the paper. You see men. You occasionally do, but you normally see the men. Eliminate the customers and the trade will move on to a different area. Unfortunately, they don't have strong enough punishment to do it. Unless the girl comes forward and she says, I'm being held against my will, I've been trafficked, then it's a whole different story.
There is a young lady in Birmingham that got out of the traffic trade, and that's what I was telling y'all last week. She told nurses, a friend of mine's a nurse there, told her that they really want to get the black and brown children because they mature faster in their body. And so that's what they prefer.
Yeah, and I want to show you the back part of this article. Well, this girl, the U.S. attorney, has alleged that this guy, the rapper, or whoever this girl was last with, engaged to a form of exploitation using force and other coercion to compel young women to engage in paid sex for enrichment. In other words, they were used in the sex trade. And this girl, I'm telling you, this girl is so far away from what you would think to be a normal girl in the sex trade. She was not initially in drugs. She's very pretty. This girl right there, if she was into the sex trade forcibly, she's the type of girl to make $1,000 a night hooker. That's basically to put it bluntly. FBI Assistant Director in charge, William Sweeney, said, as alleged, this guy compelled his victim to engage in prostitution through force, coercion, and used both this victim, and he says her by name, who has been missing since September the 17th, online online advertisements promoting prostitution. The human trafficking is a top priority for the FBI, and today's charges demonstrate they continue to aggressively pursue justice for the victims in this horrendous crime. Mrs. Schuler was last seen in Queens. So I know that the mother has come out and begged this guy in the court. She was in the courtroom and begged this guy to tell her where her daughter was. Or at least, is she alive? That's what she said. Just tell me she's alive. And, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking enough to know that your daughter was engaged in prostitution through force, through trafficking. But imagine that you just want to know if she's alive. Just tell me she's alive. It would be bad.
I don't know that. If they told me she was alive and my thoughts of what she was going through, I think that would drive me crazy. I mean, I don't know.
Well, it would make, as a father, I would pursue all means possible to find out where she was if I found out she was alive. All means possible. And if it meant taking my friends and us going down in the projects and finding this, or posing as men looking for sex to try to find this person, I would use all means possible to try to find out where she was. And,
Allison says, my son tells me there are worse things than dying, and he wants her to carry.
Yeah, absolutely. If you talk about some of the things that these people do to these girls, it's just, I can't imagine. I mean, I have seen things in my law enforcement career. I have been in sting operations where, women were doing drugs and shooting it up underneath their tongue and between their toes. So addicted to narcotics, they didn't want to show their track marks, shoot it underneath their tongue, in their groin, between their toes, a whole bunch of other stuff. And these involved in prostitution, being trafficked by these people and these pimps, and then you arrest their pimps and they say, leave him alone, because they're the ones that have been putting them in their apartments and giving them their drugs. And they're hard to get one to cooperate with you, because they're like their father figure. They're taking care of them, So it's very, very hard to get them to cooperate. Convince them that, hey, we're actually going to pull you out of this. We're actually going to allow you, take you somewhere safe and let you live somewhere you don't have to be trafficked anymore. That is so hard to tell them, because they've been so disappointed by law enforcement before. And it's just real hard to convince them. I got an earthquake dog right beside me right now, and so I apologize if she touches the table. Maggie, go for a minute, sweetie. It's just it's very disheartening to think that she could be out there right now hearing what we're saying, but refusing to come forward because she's so addicted to the lifestyle of her drugs use, or what she's told, been threatened by these guys. And I would say it's more highly possible that she's alive and still in the trade than her being deceased, because of her looks and the money that she would make by in the trade for her pimps. That's what in my opinion, she's more likely to be alive than deceased. Maggie, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Wait.
There.
She's not going after the ball. She wants up there
I'm
with you.
sorry.
They want to see Maggie. Good luck with that.
Maggie in just a minute.
Good luck with that.
I actually have a little film at the end of this. It's something new that Nina put together for me. I put it together, but she took the film anyway. But we can do two things in this with our kids, our own kids, because this lady, the mother, she said this is so far-fetched from what she believed it was in store for her kids. Hold on just a minute. Come here. Oh, goodness gracious. Maggie, okay, look, I will show you in a minute, okay? It's so far-fetched, but talk to your kids. Be honest about it. Be honest that, I know we don't want to bring up prostitution and pimps and what they are, because I'm going to tell you what kind of movies kind of make it look okay. Risky business.
And what about the 50 Shades of Grey? Women are...
I mean, Risky Business, Tom Cruise. I mean, he made it look like it's just, it's what every guy does in high school is go out and be with a prostitute, or that he, fell in love with this prostitute and this had made all this money. It's just, it was almost a comedy. And, there's so many others out there that make it look okay. It's okay to be with a prostitute. It's okay to women. It's just something women. I've heard this before. Oh, women enjoy sex like that. It's a turn on. It's all that. It's not. It's rape. It may not be rape at the time you weigh it clinically and all this, but it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to be involved in. And I don't think that this one right here, this probably this video here is going to be limited ads too, but just because we talked about this. But you know what? I really don't care.
Yeah, Pretty Woman was another movie.
Yeah, Pretty Woman. Yeah, that was another movie that glorified prostitution and made it look like it was okay.
Hey, listen.
And this thing.
Angel said, talk to him. My daughter was approached at Target by a man in a fancy car. Remember Anna telling us that? Waving $100 bills at her for modeling. She got his tag number and he was arrested. See that? Angel raised some good girls.
Yeah, she did. Her Angel, and I'm gonna tell you something. Angel's girls could be models. They're absolutely beautiful. They're stunningly beautiful. They could easily be models. I'm not just saying that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If I ever showed you a picture of her, I'm serious. They could truly be models. And this one guy came up to him in the parking lot of Target, waved a few $100 bills. Hey, you interested in doing some modeling? I got cash. And down there on the beach areas between Destin, Panama City, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, they actually have these ads in all these books. Be a model, $100 an hour, we pay cash. And all they are is these perverts. They'll take them out on the beach there and they want them to pose nude. And then they sell these things on the black market. And they get them involved in prostitution. If she had gotten a car with him, there's a good chance that she might have been killed. Because you just never know.
Yeah, but she had a good teacher growing up who taught her a self-defense class when she was homeschooled with our children.
So, talk to your kids. Talk to them and tell them, hey, money people do and all this money and throwing it out there. In fact, there's a video on YouTube right now, and my wife showed it to me the other night. A guy comes up with these kids. They're out in front of the school. He rolls down the window in his car and said, hey, your mom sent me to pick you up. Are you waiting for your mom? Yes, your mom sent you to pick y'all up. These people got in the car with him.
The kids did.
The kids got in the car with him.
Three separate
times. He drove down the road and got about 45, 50 miles an hour. He said, I don't know your mom. Your mom didn't send me. One girl I thought was going to jump out of the car. He said, no, call your mom right now. And he had made arrangements. I did not like the video, because even though it was good to show them, I just don't like that type of doing. I think there's other ways you can teach.
I disagree.
But the mothers set the kids up basically to see if they would go with a stranger, and they did.
See, but I think that's great. Teach them. That's a life lesson. They learn getting in that vehicle. They might not be coming back to mama if it wasn't like that. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I think that was great.
But regardless, talk to your kids, especially if you got girls and guys. Talk to your son. Tell them, hey, prostitution is wrong. If you ever see this happening, if you ever had one of them come up to you, call the police, tell them about it. Prostitution is wrong. Talk to the girls. Not all guys that wave $100 bills are good for you. Not all. And see, it's easy for these girls to get a guy claims he's a rapper on there and plays all this music for them on the internet, and they thinking this rapper's paying attention to them and telling them things that maybe they wouldn't have been told by anybody else, and then they get involved with them, and they're not rappers, they're sex traffickers. And that's why I simply say, monitor your kids online. Because even this girl was 18 years old, and sure, she could go out, but her mom said she's been online for years. She's been online for years. Probably started talking to this guy when she's 15, 16 years old. One thing I want you to do is share our videos like we asked you. And if you like them, give me a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen on these. Just to show you, I don't know what I said last video that caused me to lose 2 subscribers, and I count losing 1 subscriber is too many. This is my analytics for that. I lost 2 subscribers. I actually had a 522 views since I put that one out, and 133 hours of watch time. And that's not on that one video. That's accumulative for a little bit, I guess. It may be on that one video. But I did lose 2 subscribers. Now, I still am having the majority of the people that watch these programs never subscribe. 51%. I thought it used to be 20 in the 20% range, but 51% of the people that watch the videos never subscribe. And I wish they would. And I it does help me share and be able to hopefully get other people to help find these people. But talk to your kids. Now, what's something I put in the community page is the last video was demonetized for my ads. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, if I help somebody, I mean, YouTube pays me like maybe $4 for that, $4, but it's $4. It's, I get more support from y'all than I do from YouTube by far, maybe 20 times more support from everybody that wants to support the channel. YouTube doesn't pay me a lot of money. If people, the people that get rich on YouTube has like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but we are losing. We just want to tell you. I wanted to tell you, thank you, and I sincerely mean it. Thank you very much. Okay, well, I hope we've discussed things that you would be interested in tonight. We can all say a prayer for this girl that she will be found. We can all always talk to our kids about the things in life we need to talk to them. Don't be afraid to talk to your kids about sex. Listen, it was hard for us too, believe me.
It wasn't hard for me.
But it was kind of hard for me to talk to my son, to get him to the side and explain things to him. I mean, he understood a lot more probably than I even told him about, but we didn't get into the nitty gritty, but we did some. And I try to teach my kids, both of them, to give them pointers. I even tell them things now that maybe they don't want to hear.
They don't.
But I don't care. I'm going to tell them if it makes them safe, a little bit safer in a certain situation, then I'll tell them. And just like Angel there, I know her kids very well. I treat them basically like my own kids. I mean, when we go down to South Alabama, North Florida area, we have them over to eat with us. We talk to them about various things. We try to actually be a mentors to them as much as they are even to us.
One of them will call us when she sees that we're headed that way, and she'll set up to have lunch or dinner with us.
That makes me feel good when kids will still want to be around old people,
Hey, speak for yourself.
And really, and they will listen and hear and take our advice. Now, they may not when they leave the room, but I'm very, very proud of Angel's kids. They've done amazing in life, and a lot. They just got Angel's a great parent. That's what I say.
That's right.
Angel is a very, very good parent. Very smart woman. So we're going to leave it.
Oh, MH, that's right. It's better to hear it from you than a distorted version from another kid or a pervert. You're right.
I'll be honest with you. My mom and dad did not tell me the birds and the bees. I learned it on the street. I learned it from guys talking about this and that. And I remember a conversation that I went back to my mama and said, they tried to tell me this. And she said, well, Tommy. And it shocked me because I never heard it before. So I learned basically everything I learned on the street. So, and about half of that was wrong. So that's all I'm going to say. So we're going to let you go tonight.
And watch the video at the end.
Watch the video at the end, and I will. What was I going to say? We will be back with you Tuesday unless something else happens. And you know what? It would be so great to be able to come back out here Saturday and say, "Guess who got arrested?"
Did you apologize for last night?
Well, yeah, I said it was bad of me. It was a software glitch. Melinda helped us out. She did. She really stepped up to the plate, helped us out.
Okay. Because I told him, I cannot believe you did that.
Yeah,
400 people waiting online.
Not 400, but it's about 40. But it does. I do appreciate every one of you. Don't listen. Don't think I don't appreciate you. I do. And all I ask is you share our channel. That's it. Share our channel. We really would love to be at 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We would really love to be
the doggies. They're waiting on the doggies.
We're doing the doggies now. God bless you. Be safe. Stay well. We'll see you on Tuesday unless something major happens in the meantime. And if I do come on it will be major. Enjoy the video.
I got the food. I'm gonna feed the horses. Maggie, stop. She does not like the horses getting her pears. Maggie, oh, get your nose out there. Watch this. Watch this. You got it. Can you bite it? Here you go. Good job. Where's Donkey? Donkey, Maggie. Listen, sit. Do you want this pear? You want it? Do you want it? Okay, wait. Can you wait? Can you say please? Please, okay. Thank you. So jealous of the horses. Hold on a minute. Y'all, I'm sorry about this video. Oh. Said my teeth are old because I'm an old horse. Yeah, y'all see the pretty colors? Where's the donkey? Did y'all run Donkey off? Donkey! And there comes little Gracie. Gracie, you coming to eat? Huh? Want another one?